Hey guys, welcome back. It's Tempest Fanfiction. Today, you're gonna be listening to What If Ayanokoji Met NANAYA. Let's get started. In the dream, it was a cold, chilly night. The white moon shone in the sky while dark mountains loomed in the distance. A feast of blood filled the air with its scent. The teenager stood there, experiencing the harshness of the environment. The cold wind was biting, hurting the skin. The darkness brought by the deep mountains obscured the field of vision. The soft light of the full moon was obscured by trees. The smell of blood was overwhelming, penetrating the tip of the nose. For the teenager, all this was just daily training. Tr- the teenager could only look around, taking in everything that was happening. Moments ago, wolves had attacked the teenager, but now they lay dead in a pool of blood. The teenager's hand, the teenager's hands were tightly holding a knife, and blood was slowly dripping from its blade. No one would believe the scene that occurred there. That had occurred there. The teenager had un, unliterally ignored the wild beast who regarded himself as a food. But for the teenager, all this seemed so sparse. It was impossible at first, but after years of hard work, the teenager had become capable of this. Adults praised the teenager, saying, "You are the most perfect work of the clan." Children on the other hand feared the teenager, asking, "Why can you do this?" These praises and fears had accompanied the growth of the teenager, and he had always been surrounded by them. Then one day, the patriarch said these words to the teenager: "From today, you are my son." The patriarch Nanaya Kiri affirmed the identity of the teenager. "You will become the only one in this generation that has inherited the name Nanaya," he said. Nanaya was the name of this clan, and it was also the last name of the clan patriarch. "Your name will be called Nanaya Feng the patriarch said, and thus Nanaya Feng was born into the clan. This was the this was the sound of the bus door opening. As as Feng Li as Feng Li I'm gonna just call him Lee, bro, because I'm not gonna like pronounce it all the time, so I'm just gonna call him Lee. As Lee heard the sound, he slowly opened his eyes and woke up from his dream. Rubbing his forehead, Lee recalled the dream. "That was a dream that makes me feel nostalgic." Ah, as Lee mumbled to himself, a group of passengers started boarding the bus outside. Lee sat in a back seat, and among the passengers were some wearing suits and others in casual clothes. The most noticeable among them were high school students wearing a uniform. The uniform consisted of white shirt, blue tie, and red jacket. The only difference was that the boy wore green trousers and the girls wore pleated skirts and black strips on a white background to differentiate differentiates. Oh my gosh, I can bro. It's taking a while to pronounce this. Differentiate, bro. Comment in the comment if I'm wrong. Between genders, Lee was also wearing a uniform like this. The passengers who got on the bus saw several high school students wearing such uniform. Lee and they were surprised. Is this the uniform of the Advanced Nurturing High School? Are they preparing to enter the first grade? Obviously, they're talking about, high school. This is really something. The passengers continued to discuss one after another, indicating that the school where this uniform was from must be a place of great interest. The students in the bus had some proud looks in response to these discussions, while others were indifferent. For instance, a golden haired youth sitting in a elderly seat, believing himself to be the center of the world, folding his arm and crossing his legs with a sense of smugness and arrogance. He hums a tune with closed eyes, ignoring these discussions. As another example, not far from Lee's seat, a girl with cascading black hair ignores the chatter and appears lost in thought. Lastly, a schoolgirl with a cute shoulder length haircut and a backpack appears pleased by the discussion and offers a friendly smile. There is still one person sitting on Feng Li's side. It seems like the school we attended is well received, said the person sitting beside Li. He looked handsome but had no sense of presence in his whole body. His tone was plain and lacked any ups and downs. His calm eyes had no waves, making him seem like a boy who wouldn't be noticed in a crowd. The person seemed to be talking to Feng Li. In fact, from the moment they got on the bus, the person had been looking for a chance to speak with Li, but ultimately gave up. He was like an unpopular high school student who lacked social skills but wanted to make friends. Feng Li felt a bit of sympathy towards him. Li turned to look at the person. Huh? The person paused for a moment and then said, "My name is Ayanokoji Kiyotaka." He seemed to think that he should introduce himself first, so he reported his name. Unfortunately, his tone was still flat, lacking any ups and downs, making him seem weak and lacking in strength. It would be difficult for him to make friends in a high school class. Feng Li evaluated him in his mind and nodded. "Call me NANAYA. Then it will be all right." Since the two were not yet familiar enough to call each other by name, Ayanokoji Kiyotaka seemed to be satisfied with this and no longer spoke. Feng Li didn't intend to start a conversation, but instead fixed his gaze in one direction. "I'm sorry, please let me through. Thank you." He saw an elderly lady outside the bus struggling to step inside, like she might fall any moment. People glanced at her but then ignored her plight, including Ayanokoji Kiyotaka. Only a short-haired girl with shoulder-length hair who looked slightly cute approached the old lady. "Granny, let me help you," she said with a sweet voice and a cute smile. "Thank you," the old lady gratefully acknowledged. Usually, in such situations, people would offer their seats to the elderly, but everyone chose to ignore the scene, with some even humming and reading books. This included the arrogant teenager sitting on the elderly seat, who didn't even open his eyes, and even the long straight-haired girl reading a book as if she were in a painting, didn't lift her head and simply disregarded the scene. Feng Li's brow furrowed imperceptibly upon witnessing the scene. After a moment of contemplation, Feng Li rose from his seat and stood quietly next to the old lady, attracting the attention of many passengers in the bus, including Ayanokoji Kiyotaka and the girl reading the book. The cute girl who had helped the old lady also glanced at Feng Li and smiled as if she had understood something. "Thank you," she said, showing a kind and cheerful smile that made several high school students blush. Feng Li didn't say anything, but nodded and gave his seat to the old woman. He then stood aside and gazed at the scenery outside the window of the bus. Um, the bus drove on. Eventually, the bus stopped in front of a school. As the door closed, the bus drove away slowly. Feng Li picked up his school bag and walked over from the station. He lifted his head and gazed at the school in front of him. It was an enormous area that seemed to be designated as a school district, surrounded by a high wall. Surrounded by a high wall. The school was facing the door where Feng Li stood, and it had a majestic gate made of natural rock. Boys and girls dressed in school uniforms passed by Feng Li's side. And entering through the leafy gate, Feng Li stopped at the door and observed the scene. Is this Tokyo Metropolitan Advanced Nurturing High School? He wondered. Tokyo, Tokyo Metropolitan Advanced Nurturing High School, he read on the sign. It was commonly referred to as Advanced Nurturing High School. This was a school established by the government to cultivate young people who would shape the future. It was also a special school in the country. It was said that the employment rate of the students who attended this school was astonishingly high at 100% and 99.9% of them could enter in their desired field and achieve their desired future. Furthermore, the school boasts the latest equipment and offers monthly expenses for living, eliminating tuitions and lodging fees. The school ethos is extremely liberal. Catering exclusively to high school students. It's like a dream school with treatment superior enough to warrant suspicion of its very existence. If not for the written test and interview to filter out a large number of prospective students, it would be highly questionable, Feng Li thought. Despite the examinations and interviews, the school's exceptional conditions are so impressive that they arouse suspicion. Nevertheless, there are rarely rumors about the school's reputation outside, except that it is a well-known endowed school that attracts envy and attention. However, only 160 students are able to pass the written test and interview. Feng Li is one of the fortunate ones. All the students wearing the same uniform as Feng Li were attending the school, moving in after another. Only one person stopped beside Feng Li, Ayanokoji Kiyotaka. We seem to be in the same grade, he said, not sounding enthusiastic. Enthusiastic? Yeah. Feng Li shrugged, not bothering to look back at him. Just then a voice interrupted them. I have a question for you. The voice was polite but had a sharp and aggressive tone. Feng Li and Ayanokoji stopped and turned around to see a beautiful girl with long black hair who had been reading a book in the bus. She walked over to them with grace and poise, addressing Feng Li first before turning her attention to Ayanokoji Kiyotaka. Why didn't you give the seat to why didn't you give the old woman your seat? What's the reason? She asked. Ayanokoji Kiyotaka hesitated for a moment before replying. I didn't want to draw too much attention. It was a bizarre answer, but the girl seemed to understand. In the crowded train, everyone had ignored the old woman, but when one person suddenly gave up their seats, all eyes were on them. Feng Li knew this well from his own experience, as he had garnered stares when he offered his seat to the old woman. Anakoji Kiyotaka's answers made made him seem even more aloof and unapproachable. So that's how it is. The young girl said in a cold tone. She evaluated. Are you escaping the world of ideolo- ide- ideology? You're really a coward. Ayanokoji Kiyotaka narrowed his eyes and responded. Don't you think you are saying too much to the person you met for the first time? And you also didn't give up the seat, right? Don't compare me to you, the girl retorted immediately. I only didn't give up because I didn't think it was meaningful. Do you? Anakoji Kiyotaka said in a voice devoid of emotion. It seems more like an idea to dodge. However, the young woman's attitude did not change in the face of this argument. I just acted according to my own belief, she said. It is not the same as a person who is merely a coward. After that, the girl looked back at Feng Li. Are you acting like a good person? The girl said impolitely. If so, giving up your seat will only result in gaining goodwill and attention, and no other advantages. Is that why you gave up your seat? Obviously, the young woman was not interested in the so called goodwill and attention. She even thought it was useless. Only